Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very disturbing upload to share with you. Before we jump into it, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes, half a second. If you don't want to miss any of the informative uploads I put out, click the bell icon, and finally, please leave a comment. Why? Well, guys, because these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? All right, guys, so today I received a text message from someone that I spoke to a while ago. And it's the Border Patrol agent. He asked if I had a few minutes, and I didn't recognize the number. He said, "It's me, this," and I said, "Oh, yeah. Do you want me to call the number that you're at?" And he said, "No, I'll call you." 20 minutes go by, and we end up talking for a little bit. For those of you who are not familiar with who I'm talking about, a couple months back, these two deaths were in the news. There were some, this was before the break in the wall where they're now letting everyone into our country. But 3 Border Patrol agents were working, and what they saw was probably the most horrendous thing anyone could see. Young Mexican and Latin American folks coming across the Rio Grande into this little area in Texas. And they were set up on a cliff. They could see pretty much all around them, the 3 Border Patrol agents. But the folks that were coming into the country and what appeared shortly after the rest of them had successfully made it to shore could not see them. I'm wondering if it sensed they were there, but who knows. What ended up happening is a Dogman savagely attacked these migrants. The 3 Border Patrol agents are of Mexican descent, and one of them fired 2 shots, and hitting the Dogman in the hip and in the shoulder area. They do believe the Dogman died, but this is after the Dogman had attacked women, children, men, just a random savage attack. It didn't feed, it didn't do anything. Shortly thereafter, 2 of those Border Patrol agents were found dead. One was a drinking and driving incident. The other was a heart attack or heart failure. They were young men. One of them, the one that was in the accident, didn't drink or drive. And they had all, within the last 6 months, had gotten physicals. So he immediately fled back to Mexico. He has been listening to the channel, and he wanted to bring a couple of things to my attention that he noticed that day. And it was strange to him. And he's like, I really need to, especially after hearing about the attack in Oregon, the incidents that are going on in Michigan. But he had also heard what a Texas family had shared, a Texas father had shared a while ago. And then, of course, he had started to listen to a little bit of Victor's experiences and stuff like that. So he wanted to kind of come clean a little bit more on that day and what had happened. Pretty much he was very detailed in, the shot, the caliber of the rifle, the aftermath and everything else like that. But after watching today's upload and hearing what the gentleman from Michigan said about the Fish and Game coming and saying, hey, you're going to be imprisoned if you shoot this creature or kill it, he kind of was like, I gotta talk to somebody about this, because I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but there's something that doesn't make sense either. So this is what he shared with me. So now that has time, free time, a lot of it, he has been watching a lot of my videos, and he said the way the creature moved was methodically. It didn't just pounce on the people. It almost looked for the weakest person or the closest person and attacked them. It went for the women that had children in their hands. It went for the children. It did get one older man. But he said it was almost not robotic, but it did look robotic. It was very in line with what it was doing and how it needed to successfully, what he said, complete his mission. He believes that this creature was sent there to kill every single one of these people here. Now, what he said next, and he said, I don't know. He said, I'm a little afraid of Victor. And I said, well, Victor's decent. I've known him for a while. I know that he's helped, Luke. And he said, Jeff, the creature had a patch like that, like 2-inch by 2-inch square, shaved, almost like hair didn't grow on the side of its neck. And he said, I listened to Victor saying that these things were chipped. He said, but the strangest thing about that whole attack and seeing that patch, which the three of them didn't put anything together because they hadn't even heard of Dogman at that time. They haven't even heard channels, was that not only did it have a 2-inch by 2-inch patch of hair missing, in the back of its neck, but it also had what appeared to be a transmitter on its ankle. And I said, I've never heard anything like that. And he said, no, I've listened to quite a few of your videos and I've not heard anything. He goes, but me and the guys, we're positive that's what we saw. It had a kind of red light that they could almost see, like a transmitting light. So when it ran away and after it was shot, it was not running very well, obviously. They could see this ankle monitor or whatever it was. He said, but, just hearing what Victor said, the patch made sense, but the ankle monitor didn't. And I said, yeah, that's crazy. And then he said that he does believe that the gentleman in Michigan is in danger. But he compared it to another subscriber encounter out of Texas. And I hadn't thought about the incident at all, putting two and two together. And this is what I mean. Like, I share my theories with you guys, and then a lot of you choose to share your theories with me. And it does shine some light on things. It also makes you kind of step back and second guess what you thought, which is great, because that just shows you have an open mind, to step back and be like, all right, this is something that I do need to look at. He has seen all the videos out of Michigan and seen how it started with the chicken coops and this and that. And then them going out into the woods, them seeing the glowing eyes, the multiple glowing eyes, the roars. Just like him, though, I had said, I don't think it's just a Dogman that's on that property. And he said, no, it's more than one Dogman, but there's something else there. And he said that night that something was on the roof. He said he doesn't believe it was a Dogman. And I'm like, I really didn't either. It didn't strike me as a Bigfoot or a Dogman. But that's not why we were talking about that. There was a family in Texas, and they had owned a little bit of land, dad, daughter, wife. The daughter and the dad had kind of like a thing they do. They'd record weird things that they'd see in the sky, UFOs, UAPs. And one night, his daughter and him had gotten a really good capture. They ended up chasing, if I'm not mistaken, a couple days later, a UAP. He ended up contacting or trying to contact MUFON. A person came out, asked for everything he had, and of course he said, no, I'm not giving you everything I have. I'll give you this, I'll make copies of this, but you're not getting the originals. Come to find out that guy wasn't even from MUFON. Who do you think it was from? I think it was a warning, I think that all these strangeness, what is it called? High strangeness? UAPs, alien abductions, Bigfoot, Dogman, crawler, spirits, poltergeists. They all have a connection. So he's like, I don't think the government liked what that guy did. But not only did the government come to his home, the MUFON, and nonchalantly kind of threatening him, but a couple days later, he's in his kitchen looking out his window, and he's got a mailbox that's, 4 feet, 5 feet tall on the end of his driveway. And there's this quadrupedal creature larger than his mailbox in height, staring dead at him. He knew that this creature was there to warn him. He literally, not the Border Patrol agent, but the gentleman in Texas that shared this with me and many of you. But he knew that this creature was only here for one reason, and that was to shut him up. Do you have anything, your cat, your dog out, I'll take it out and leave it as a warning. That's what he felt. And then it walks away. It just walks out of his development, kind of looking back at him. And then we start to talk a little bit. He thinks that, there's a connection. Not a connection of the cases, but almost, agents, creatures, warnings. Like, they're being used. He flat out said he doesn't believe that the government was using these creatures to enforce any kind of migration, or not migration, stopping folks from coming into the country illegally. He just thinks it's a warm-up for what's about to happen. So then he kind of goes into the Oregon attack, where, the hospital, it was kind of fishy about the hospital. Saying they found out that they heard about it from a Facebook post. Just a lot of weird possible government involved. The government is monitoring anything and everything. We know that already. But what he said that really kind of hit the nerve was this guy in Michigan was warned, and that same day that warning happened, that creature that was in the woods messed with him. It kind of teetered and looked around. YouTube is weird. We're only allowed like a 9:16 frame. So I'm going to figure out a way of, I think I did shrink it down actually, and kind of so you guys could see it. But if you're watching that creature, it is trying to conceal itself to where he can't get a good shot. Plus, he's like, do I really want to shoot this thing? Now knowing that the federal fish and game are, or knows what's going on my property. So he said to me, Jeff, I know you're friends with Victor? And I said, yeah. I said, he's really, I like him. I know, some folks question who he is, but he's been very forthcoming with me. He said, ask him about that monitor, please, on its ankle. But ask him about what really is going on. If he knows that these random attacks are a warm-up for what really is going to come to us. And he said something that really frightened me, and he said the government wants to keep its people under an umbrella to control them. Rumor has it that this is, now that he's hearing all these things and talking to certain people and getting that when Venezuela fell, there were large numbers of upright dogmen running around attacking people. I was like, I never heard that. I've never heard of anything like that. I'm like, how do you know that? Where'd you hear that from? He supposedly had heard it from one of his family members' friends. His brother is in the Mexican Navy, which also helps control border migration and stuff like that. Guys, are we... is the government going to use a select few of these creatures to flip the script? And, we already know that that's what they want. They want absolute control. And I wouldn't put it past either party. I honestly don't believe that there is parties when you're so deep into, I think what they allow us to see is a smoke show, but I think there's kind of a unified populace in the government that just wants to control its people. And I was like, you're probably right, man. But I will ask Victor about the ankle monitor, the whatever the hell that was. And I'm like, are you sure, that you saw this? And he's like, I'm absolutely 100% positive that I saw that. I didn't want to share it with you. Then he goes, I almost didn't share it. But after talking to certain people and hearing these strange, just not only is he listening to my channel and listening to your guys' experiences and stuff like that and theories and stuff, but he's hearing other people who really aren't into cryptozoology that are stumbling upon these things at random. But what he heard about the Venezuelan thing, he had heard from one of his brother's friends that was in the Mexican Navy. And that's terrifying, because then I started to think about it. And after he and I got off the phone, I started to think about it. And it was like 5 or 6 months into Victor first appearing on the channel and sharing stuff that he said the government wants to use them on us. And as long as, he can, whatever, he'll play his part in not having it happen. But that's scary. That's scary. If that is what truly they want, we will have no end game on it, regardless. Maybe that's why they're trying to take our weapons right now. I mean, when Germany fell to the party, the Nazi party, they took their weapons before the fall happened. I don't know. I asked him if I could share what we talked about. He said yes. But please ask Victor about that monitor, that thing on its ankle. He goes, that patch on its neck area, he goes, I immediately thought that was the chip. He goes, but if it had a chip, why would it have that ankle monitor? And I said, I don't know, my friend. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all. Let's get into a couple of encounters. So I try to respect and, be as honest with everyone as I can. And I did say, hey, I will reach out to Victor. I know that he contacted me just recently, a couple days ago. So I'm going to ask him, and I'll let you know. He is terrified of Victor. He said, please don't share my number. Don't give him any information. Please. He's I don't need a hunter hunting me. And I was like, I don't know Victor like that. I know him from what, you guys have heard me share, but I don't think he would hunt you, my friend. But I'm going to ask and see what he has to say about it. So let's jump into a couple of encounters. Jeff, my first encounter with the Dogman, let me say they are real. I don't believe in things that can be proven, but seeing is believing. And my sighting was late afternoon at about 4:30 on Northridge Road, heading south towards Alexandria. I was over halfway to Alexandria when I was looking to the right in a small clearing of grass when I saw a very large dog sitting very close to the road, so close that we made eye contact. I could tell its eyes were a dark ember colored, and its coat of fur was black and kind of brindleish. It was very muscular, which was crazy for a dog. I'm an ex-dog breeder of large, rare bred dogs, and I know dogs, and this was no normal dog. Looking back, I think it heard my box truck coming and sat down to act like a dog, but I got a good look at it and thought this thing could kill a person with ease. I must say, it almost fooled me until I saw its chest and arms, meaning its front legs while it was sitting. Its front legs were way too long for a normal dog. Its arms and chest deltoid definition was incredible. First thing you think is steroids. We eyed each other, and I drove by slowly in shock at what I had just seen. It was like it was hiding what it really was, just in plain sight. I know I didn't see it stand up, but those front legs and its size told me that it could. Never ride your bike or jog or walk on that road day or night. I'm not even sure if I had a handgun it would stop it or even stand a chance. Maybe with an AR or something of that sort, to be truthful. This sighting was in 2017. These things must be the creation of a mad scientist that should be stopped. This is a second encounter. Late April of 2018, I was working. I had just dropped a load of freight in Detroit for my employer in a tractor trailer. I was heading back to Columbus on State Route 275. This event changed my meaning of life. I will never enjoy camping, ATV riding in the woods again because of what I saw. Let me first say, if you ever break down on this road, never get out of your vehicle to investigate. Call AAA. Then I highly recommend you call a loved one and let them know exactly where you are. Here's why. It was just getting dark. I'd say 9:30 p.m., give or take a few minutes, and a large craft uncloaked itself to my right. As I drove south, it was floating the opposite direction, and it had a slight spinning motion going on about it, like it was slowing down. Its lights were dim, and it had 9 or 10 circular windows, and they each had dimly lit lights. And in the middle of each window, it had a dark spot that reminded me of a pupil of the eye. I did get the feeling that I was being watched by the craft as it was silently floating in the opposite direction. It was like pulled over. Go figure what I'm about. I can't. Hang on, guys. I think I was like pull over and get out and go figure what I am. About that time, my hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I said, hell no. With that thought, because I believe I knew what it was. Soon as the windows lit up extremely bright from left to right, one by one, the craft cloaked itself. It was a solid object because it blocked the view that was behind it. And this was no projection or beam of light that made the craft appear. I don't know who else had seen it that night, but I wasn't alone on that road. Cars were spaced out pretty good. I just know I got a damn good look at it, and I hope I never see it again in person. Since that night, I've noticed that Michigan has a lot of strange things in the sky appearing and disappearing. Flashing lights that are not normal. Everything stated here is true. Today's second encounter. Jeff, my and Dogman encounter happened on season opener in November of 2013 in the eastern upper peninsula of Michigan on family hunting property near a town called Cedarville. The house my husband and I were staying at up there had a large front yard. But other than that cleared area, the gravel driveway, everything else was pretty deep hardwood forest. I also would like to state ahead of time that this happened at around 11 p.m., so everything beyond the porch lights were pretty hard to see. My husband and I had gone outside to have a cigarette, and we took our rifles out with us whenever we were hanging around outside because there's bear and stuff back there in that area. I was on the porch still. My husband had gone down the steps into the yard and was facing towards me when we heard this really heavy, slow footsteps coming up the driveway through the wood. It sounded like a really large man, but there was something weird about its breathing as well. The footsteps, even though it sounded like a person, was much heavier than anything I had ever heard walking in these woods, including a full-sized bear. My husband looked at me and mouthed, WTF. And I was trying to figure out what it was by my hearing, but nothing I had ever heard out in these woods in my whole life matched the size and breathing and gait of whatever it was, so I was confused and shaking my head. My husband is not a hunter, grew up in the city, so he's completely confused as well. I've hunted and tracked basically everything that's indigenous to northern Michigan since I was small, so I was honestly terrified that this animal was a complete unknown to me by its sound. It walked out of the tree line to the edge of the yard behind my husband, and it was much taller than him, at least 7 feet tall or more, and I'd estimate its weight for its size to be around 400 pounds. It was on its hind legs and had super black fur that was somehow even darker than the nighttime dark of the woods. It was walking back and forth in a distance from us the whole time this encounter happened, but it would not step into the perimeter of lights. I had a really hard time making out its torso for that reason. But I saw a wolf-like head and snout with pointed ears that stuck straight up. And instead of front legs and paws, it had really disproportionately long arms and hands. It was on two legs this whole time, walking back and forth. I freaked out and grabbed the rifle and just started shooting at it, yelling at my husband to run, get on the porch, so he did. And then he took the gun from me and told me to find something to use as a weapon to go inside and hide. So I did. I got my large knife and went and locked myself in our bedroom in the closet. I could hear my husband shooting and reloading a bunch. For about another 10 minutes, he came in and told me through the closet door that the creature had finally run off, but he wasn't sure if it was going to come back. So we were both pretty terrified. I ended up staying in the closet all night until sunrise with my husband guarding that door with his gun. He told me that he thought he had hit it when I was shooting at it at first, but the next day we didn't find any blood or hair or anything, which I thought was weird because I really thought I must have shot and wounded it a couple of times. It moved incredibly fast, though. It was agile enough to run through the brush and stuff without really mowing it down and making a bunch of noise like large animals usually do, running through the dense underbrush and stuff. The whole encounter was incredibly weird and scary. My husband also said that he did see it sort of hunch over and drop down onto all fours a few times while it was running back and forth on the edge of the yard, but that when it ran away for good that night, it was running insanely fast and only on two legs like a man. We didn't smell anything bad like a lot of people describe when they see these things, but we also know that it didn't leave any noticeable tracks anywhere, even though this thing was so heavy and sounded heavy while it was walking up the driveway. I swore the ground near it must have shook. We found out later from one of the neighbors that he had seen it the next door in the winter before when it came up to his porch of his cabin and looked in the door window during a party he and his wife were throwing. He said he had heard really heavy footsteps on the porch, pulled back the curtain to the window, and this Dogman was standing there on the other side of the glass looking down at him. But its fur was white then. I think that's probably because there was snow on the ground. This point of year, my neighbor hollered at everyone in the cabin and told them what he had seen, and then everyone decided to make a run for it through the woods to his mom's house next door, since her place was a lot sturdier than a hunting cabin. I've known that neighbor my whole life practically since high school, and he would never make something up like that. He was scared, even while he was talking about it. I also read somewhere online recently that another family, about 45 miles north of our area, had a bunch of livestock like cows and horses turned up dead, torn up by something, some sort of large predator, and that one of the guys in the family saw a giant upright wolf back near his hunting blind during deer season, which of course freaked me out since we had our experience the season opener. The land butted up to the family property is hundreds of miles in the Hiawatha National Forest, so it would make sense to me that a large animal would hide in or near protected area like that when it's hearing gunshots everywhere else. My lot and my neighbor's lot also are right alongside state land. My husband and I moved since this had all happened, but the experience was so upsetting that I constantly research online to see if anyone else is having anything turn up in the northern peninsula. and what their encounter was like and stuff. I've even heard there's a small pack of 4 or 5 of them that live in the state forest downstate in Isabella County, that a bunch of locals in nearby area had seen them, and that somebody even saw one at night in downtown Saginaw. What scares me about this is the fact that there's no tree cover there, and it's in the city. I wonder if people all over the state are seeing these things because they're getting forced out of their usual hunting territories due to hunting, logging, and mining that's really increased over the years. Guys, I got really excited looking through this folder from Michigan. Many of you have heard me talk about the bear walker, which is Ojibwe. It's a shapeshifter like the skinwalker, the Navajo skinwalker. A lot of people, we've talked about it about 100,000 times on the channel, and it drives me nuts how people are like, I saw a skinwalker in Georgia, or there was a skinwalker in Massachusetts in the water swimming. No. That was probably something else that may or may not have shapeshifted, but not a skinwalker, because skinwalkers are Navajo, right? Well, the Ojibwe have their own creature called the bear walker. And the subscriber that shared that experience with us shared this with me. And I'm so happy that I found this, because this email is the reason why I started researching and looking into this bear walker and read the Ojibwe thesis that a Ojibwe native student wrote. Here's the really cool information on the bear walker. Jeff, I sat down tonight and tried to remember everything my dad had taught me and my siblings about the bear walker and wrote the basic description from memory. My dad passed away back in 2010, and since everything in our Ojibwe culture was taught and passed down orally, I'm unfortunately only as good as my memory. Yes, you can start feeling senile already at 38. I hear that. Anyway, here goes. The bear walker, or Mikwamoosa, I know how to say the word, not spell it, was said to be a bad woman or man who decided to use the medicines and rituals of the Ojibwe in a corrupted way to gain power and or to exact revenge and get another native they were pissed at for whatever reason or jealous of. The person who wanted to become a bear walker would have to perform a blood ritual of some sort by praying and calling upon the Jaimendu, our word for devil that basically means dark or evil spirit, making an offering of their own soul and life as well as some blood, not sure, but possibly their own, as well as offering up some belongings to the intended target, like some of their hair or something like that. If their offering was accepted, then this would call up the spirit of the bear walker, and it would possess them for the rest of their life, giving them immense strength and longevity as well as power to cause sickness, misfortune, and death to whomever they wanted, as well as travel disguised as any animal or as even a ball of flame. The form of the bear was chosen most often to keep and build its power. The bear walker was expected to take lives and then to take a small piece of the body of the victim and offer it to the Jaimendu. Some people also say that this could have been done to prevent the victim's spirit from getting revenge on the bear walker who had killed them. For this reason, as part of the Ojibwe wake, the body of the deceased is constantly guarded by the family until the burial that occurs at the end of the traditional 4 day Ojibwe mourning ceremony. In the old days, for added protection, the body would be rolled into a blanket and laid in a platform high off the ground while it was being guarded. In more recent times, however, the body is guarded indoors. I helped with that in the alternating shifts with my younger brother during my dad's 4-day ceremony after he passed. We believe that it takes a person's spirit 4 days, which is a sacred number to us, to travel the spirit road with our guides on the other side and atone for anything they may have done wrong, anyone they've hurt during the course of their lives. When that's done, we believe that you are able to then go be with our ancestors and loved ones, and that's done. We believe that you are able to then go and be with the ancestors. It's also said the only way to stop a bear walker is to kill it. There was actually a gentleman in Canada who was acquitted of murder because he believed that a man he had beaten to death in his yard during an altercation was a bear walker who was trying to kill him. Locals backed him up because before the guy got killed, he was bragging around town that he was a bear walker and that he was going to kill a bunch of people he had beef with, or possibly even children, so that they have to really suffer from grief. He got beat to death with a petrified walrus penis. I don't remember how much more than that, but I do know that locals from my old hometown and the rest of the Upper Peninsula who were interviewed for a book that I told you about had shared their family stories about stuff like bear walkers, so it could be taken seriously as warnings to others. Unfortunately, from what I recall from reading the book, it ended up being marketed as satire or funny mythology stories. I know most of the family names, though, of the Ojibwe who contributed the stories from my area, and I am related to some of them, and I know they told these stories as to consider facts. The Ojibwe sense of humor is super dry, but we never joke around about stuff that is dark. Everything is shared as a lesson to be learned and passed along to the next listener. The book is called Blood Stoppers and Bear Walkers, and it's available on Amazon. So it's Blood Stoppers and Bear Walkers, Folk Traditions of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. I don't have anything to do with the book, but I do encourage people to, buy the book because it is very informative. All right, guys. I'm getting exhausted here. Long day. I was supposed to reach out to a few people this week to do some interviews. And with everything that happened last week and Belle spilling the hot water on her legs, it was so weird. Like, she actually caught a cold after or during this whole process. So I've been taking care of her. It's been a long week. I apologize. Nothing against anyone. I don't have enough time in the day to get everything done that I need and want to get done. I will get to you as quickly as I can. So please understand, and thank you for understanding ahead of time. I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I am going to reach out to Victor today, actually, and I will let everyone know what he has to say, including our friend, the border patrol agent, because it was just odd to hear a person to have so much fear, but I've never had to deal with anything like what he's going through now. So I guess, that's probably what I'd be doing too, is being completely fearful. Anyway, guys, thank you for all your support. I truly appreciate it. With that, stay safe, happy, and healthy. And may the Great Spirit watch over us all. May He guide us down that path that we call life.